Yo, time to wake 'em up!
Bonjour et bienvenue sur Discover 360. J'espère que cette chaîne vous plaira. Elle est consacrée à l'intelligence artificielle, au voyage et à la tech.
Yo, check the mic, 1, 2.
N'oubliez pas de souscrire. Bonne écoute.
Next cipher begin.
All right, so Anthropic just dropped Claude Opus 4.7. And the claims, well, they're pretty wild. We're talking about an AI that can supposedly build entire software projects all by itself. So, what's really going on under the hood? That's what we're here to find out. We're going to break down the new architecture, the new capabilities, and exactly what you, as a builder, need to know to get the most out of this thing. Yeah, this quote right here pretty much says it all, doesn't it? We are not talking about a model that's just a little better at writing code snippets. No way. This is about an AI that can take on a whole project, something that would have taken a senior engineer months to finish and do it on its own. That's a whole different ballgame. It's a massive shift in what these things can do.
And that really gets to the heart of it. It's not just a smarter tool anymore. It's more like a new kind of teammate. We've got to shift our thinking, you know? It's less about supervising a tool and more about collaborating with a genuine partner. You can actually delegate really complex, long-running jobs to it and have some real confidence it'll get them done.
So, okay, this brings up the big questions, right? What's actually new here? How does this thing really work on the inside? And for all of us who build stuff, what do we need to know to actually use it effectively? Let's dive in and get into the nitty-gritty.
Okay, first up, the key upgrades. We're talking a real leap in capability. Let's start by breaking down the raw performance boosts, because the place where Opus 4.7 really shines is in its coding skills.
So what we're hearing from the early testers is that this thing is a huge jump forward for serious software engineering. We're talking about its ability to handle those really tricky, multi-step projects with a lot more, well, rigor. And get this, it's even gotten better at writing its own tests to make sure its work is solid before it even comes back to you. That's a game changer. And it's not just talk. The numbers actually back it up. Check this out. 3 times. On this one benchmark, the Rakuten Suite bench, which is designed to be like real-world coding problems, Opus 4.7 solves 3 times more production-level issues than the last version. I mean, come on. That is just a massive leap. And this isn't just some abstract benchmark, you know. For a company like CodeRabbit, this makes a real-world difference. They're seeing recall improve by over 10%. What that means is it's finding some of the nastiest, most difficult to detect bugs out there. It's just a sharper, more reliable partner for doing something like code review.
But wait, it's not all about the code. The vision capabilities have gotten a serious upgrade too. We're talking a revolution in vision. Opus 4.7 can see and process images with more than 3 times the resolution of the older models. And it isn't some small tweak. This opens the door to totally new use cases, especially for things like UI automation.
I mean, just look at this number, 98.5%. On a benchmark that's all about navigating computer UIs, it's nearly perfect. The last version, it was at 54.5%. That is a huge jump. If you're building agents that need to use a computer, this basically just solved one of your biggest headaches.
So in the real world, what does this mean? It means the model can finally handle really fine visual details. You can throw dense screenshots at it, complex technical diagrams, or, like this quote says, you can even have it interpret chemical structures from patent documents. That's pretty amazing.
Now, of course, with all this power, you got to ask about safety. So looking at the data, Opus 4.7 is a bit better than 4.6 when it comes to misaligned behavior. It's a modest improvement. But it's interesting to see that Anthropic's other big model, Mythos Preview, is still their top performer when it comes to safety and alignment.
All right, section 2, inside the new engine. Because what's really interesting to me is how it's doing all this. It's not just a bigger brain. Anthropic has actually given us developers a whole new set of controls. So let's look at how you can get under the hood and control this power. So the big new idea here is that you have way more control over the trade-off between how much it reasons, how fast it is, and how much it costs. The magic happens with this new effort parameter. The best way to think about it is like the performance modes in a high-end car, you know? You can tell the model exactly how much thinking to do for any given job, which lets you dial in that perfect balance between reasoning power, latency, and cost. And they've even added a new setting to this dial. We've now got this xhigh effort level, which sits right between high and max. And Anthropic is basically saying, look, for most of your tough coding or agentic tasks, start here.
It seems to be the sweet spot for getting top performance without going overboard on cost.
This whole effort thing is powered by a new capability they're calling adaptive thinking. So instead of the old way where you had to manually set a token budget and just guess, the model now dynamically decides how much to think based on how hard the problem is and what effort level you set. It's like having a smart assistant who knows when to just give a quick answer versus when to really buckle down and do some deep research. This means you get that extra brain power exactly when you need it most.
Okay, Section 3, your migration guide. And this is super important. If you're currently using 4.6 or another model and thinking about upgrading, you really need to pay attention here. This is not a simple drop-in replacement. There are some new rules of engagement you've got to know.
First up, your prompts. This model is much more literal. So all those clever prompts you wrote for 4.6, maybe with some anti-laziness tricks thrown in, they might actually backfire now. You have to be more literal and explicit. Dial back all that extra stuff because this model isn't going to guess what you mean. You have to spell it out.
Next, let's talk tokens. Your token usage is probably going to change, and there are two big reasons why. First, they've updated the tokenizer, which means the same exact input could cost you about 1 to 1.35 times more tokens. And second, like we just talked about, this thing thinks more, especially when you crank up the effort. That's great for getting better answers, but it also means more output tokens. So for sure, you're going to want to test this on your own stuff to see the impact.
Okay, and a few other quick hitters to watch out for. For code review, again, because it's so literal, you have to be super clear about the severity level of bugs you want it to flag. For design, just a heads up, it has let's call it a strong house style. So if you don't want everything to be cream and terracotta, you'll need to specify that. And with tool use, it tends to want to think its way out of a problem more than using a tool. So you might need to nudge it by raising the effort level to get it to use the tools you've given it. All right, let's wrap this up. Section 4, the builder's takeaway. So what does all this actually mean for you? As someone who builds things with these models, what's the big picture here? What's the new paradigm?
I think it boils down to three really key things. First, we've got to shift our mindset from tool to teammate. It's about delegating complex work, not just supervising simple tasks. Second, you are in the driver's seat now. You've got to get comfortable with that new effort control to really balance performance and cost for whatever you're building. And third, you have to tune your harness. Your old prompts are probably not going to work as well. This model's literalism demands that you be way more explicit.
And that really leads to the big final question, doesn't it? We're heading into a world where the AI doesn't just write a line of code. It can plan, it can execute, and it can even test and verify its own work. So, when your AI teammate can find and fix its own bugs, all on its own, what does that mean for the job of being a developer? That's the really big question that Opus 4.7 is forcing us all to think about.